This is American Ground Radio. I'm Stephen Parr with Louis R. Avalone.
Well, she may not have gone to Europe, but now the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, has gone to the southern border.
Yes, she has.
Finally.
Finally. Well, you know, she points out she's been to the border before. I'm sure, I guess, during spring break or something.
Maybe on the border for chips and queso
well, you know,
margaritas.
She says she's been to the border before.
All right. Well, anyway, Fox News' Peter Doocy asked a question while she was there in El Paso. He said, Madam Vice President, why did it take you 93 days to make it to the border?
Yeah.
And here's what she said. You got that clip, don't you?
No,
you
don't.
don't.
I don't have that clip. I'm so sorry. I do not have that clip.
Well, what she explained was that all of the work that she had done, and she said she's been to the border several times, although she certainly didn't cite any particular instances. But what she basically said was that first she had to go to Guatemala and Mexico before she could go to the border. So let me get this straight. You had to go to Guatemala and Mexico before traveling to the southern border. Why? Because what did you do at the southern border today? What was accomplished? She was there yesterday, actually. What was accomplished? It was a photo op.
Pretty much.
That was pretty much it. And by the way, she claimed that she needed an invitation from a member of Congress that represents, whose district includes El Paso.
Yeah.
The Vice President of the United States needed an invitation from a member of Congress to visit what is arguably one of the greatest crises that is facing our country today.
Right. She had to be invited. To it.
That makes absolutely no sense. Well, she went to Guatemala to attempt, she said, to identify and solve the root causes of the border crisis.
And that was last month. And she spoke with the president of Guatemala, who said before she got there, the root cause of the migration problem was that Joe Biden told everybody,
exactly,
you can come to the border. That's the root cause. So if she really wanted to find out what the root cause was, to address the root cause, maybe she should have just listened to the president of Guatemala.
Well, first of all, let me explain what the root cause is. It's called the American Dream. Look it up, Madam Vice President. I mean, the American dream is still alive.
No, that's the root cause of immigration. That's not the root cause of illegal immigration.
Fair enough. But at the same time, it was, as you pointed out, the Guatemalan president who said that, look, Kamala Harris could have solved this along with Joe Biden.
Right.
They could have solved this right from their own desk.
Whenever they wanted to.
She didn't need to travel to Guatemala. Because basically what happened was human smugglers took the message from President Biden that he would reunite children with their families, and overnight you had coyotes collecting children.
Showing up. Hey, pay us $5,000 and we'll take your kids to the U.S. and then the U.S. government will bring you to the U.S. to hang out with your kids.
But see, here's the real story, if anyone is willing to report it, that it was Biden's policies and a lack of straightforward rhetoric that created this crisis in the first place.
That's the root cause of the current illegal immigration surge. It's Joe Biden's mouth. That's what the root cause is. You want to address the root cause of illegal immigration? Tell Joe Biden to stop saying the things he said and to start doing the things Trump was doing.
And it was Kamala Harris even the right person? Was she ever the right person for this job to deal with what was going on at our southern border? She has spent years fighting for sanctuary policies, encouraging our nation to support illegal immigrants who end up on our shores. And by the way,
as has, by the way, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, he's not exactly in favor of securing the border.
And look, we're not anti-immigrant here.
Of course not.
Of course, listeners of this show, regular listeners of this show, know that I'm the first generation son of an Italian immigrant.
Well, and with us not having enough babies to replace our population, we need immigration to keep growing as a country.
But this is all theater. This is all theater. Biden, Harris, the Democrat Party, they knew exactly what they were doing when they reversed all of Trump's policies with respect to immigration. They knew the chaos that was going to ensue.
They just didn't think that you would notice the chaos that would ensue.
Here's the thing, and this was also a direct quote from the Guatemalan president. He said that when the message changed to we're going to reunite families and we're going to reunite children, when that happened, the very next day, the Coyotes were organizing groups of children to take them to the United States. And candidate Biden, candidate Harris, when she was running for president, of course, she garnered literally zero support, even among Democrats, obviously. They both promised to cease all border wall construction, to immediately end family separation.
That was their plan.
Which wasn't really going on in the first place. That's just a Democrat narrative.
And it hasn't really been ended. The same practices were happening. It's just they're happening now more because we have more people coming across the border.
And when she was running for president, she said that she was going to use an executive order to end deportations, to create a pathway to citizenship for illegal immigrants.
Which you can't do through an executive order.
So my question is this. How angry are you, or how much do you blame Central Americans who believed what the vice president of the United States, what the president of the United States said? I mean, they believe.
When they took them at their word.
They thought, hey, they mean what they say.
We get to come into the U.S. They're going to let our kids stay. Our kids will go first. Our kids can then bring us in. They're not going to deport us. They're going to let us become citizens of the U.S. Man, that's great.
But I think the left even realizes. I was reading this was a LA Times article about Kamala Harris. And in this opinion piece from the LA Times, it says her lack of any significant engagement in the Senate has not been a surprise to anyone who has paid attention to her political career.
Well, right, because when she was a senator, she wasn't engaged in that Senate.
And she only served 4 years there.
Right.
And a good portion of that time she was running for president.
Well, and name one piece of legislation that Kamala Harris pushed through in the Senate. Name one.
But see, this is so emblematic of liberals in general. They just want to tell a narrative. They don't want to actually solve what it is that ails you, me, our country, our communities. And many people say, oh, that's just, how can you say that? You mean they don't want what's best for America? Let me ask you something. How much are we talking about finding out the root cause of urban homicide, of violence in our inner cities?
No. We can't find out the root cause of that. That would be racist.
No, but why are we not trying to find out the root causes of that? The vice president of the United States has to get on a plane and fly to Guatemala, has to travel to Mexico in order to find out the root causes of illegal immigration.
Well, because you can blame somebody else for that. You can't blame somebody for the root causes of the murders in Democrat-controlled cities.
I can tell you the root causes. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
It's the American dream and the greatness of America, in that it allows each of us to see the greatness in ourselves. That's the root cause
of migration. Let's get to the top 3 things you need to know before tomorrow. Well, former police officer Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison for the murder of George Floyd. Chauvin was found guilty by a jury for second-degree, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter earlier this year. The judge in the case denied a motion for a new trial and that the trial be moved out of Minneapolis. At least one juror lied on his juror questionnaire, saying he wasn't familiar with Black Lives Matter, even though he was seen in photos wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt while attending a Black Lives Matter rally in Washington, D.C.
Well, there are already a lot of folks that say this was just a slap on the wrist. In fact, the nephew...
Really? Because I saw a lot of people saying that this was justice.
No, it's starting. It's starting. And the nephew of George Floyd, he said that his family, has been given a life sentence. They will never be able to get George back. And this police officer has only lost 22 and a half years of his life.
Second thing you need to know before tomorrow, the Department of Justice announced today they are suing the state of Georgia over that state's new voting laws. The DOJ claims without evidence that the laws are intended to stop non-whites from being able to vote. There's absolutely nothing in the law that references race or sets up any kind of racial preferences or penalties. What's more, the Georgia law is similar to many other laws in existence in states across the U.S., including in states controlled by Democrats that the DOJ apparently does not believe to be racist.
Is this the Gestapo Department of Justice?
This is the political arm of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is now prosecuting the state of Georgia for purely political, partisan, made-up reasons.
And damn it, stop insulting blacks in this country that they can't go and vote because of they have to present a photo ID. Give me a break.
And the third thing you need to know before tomorrow, Texas Democrats are suing Governor Greg Abbott about vetoing their pay. At the end of the legislative session earlier this summer, the Democrats simply walked out rather than to allow the House to vote on a series of election security issues. So the governor vetoed the spending bill that pays for legislative salaries since they had walked off the job and will likely cause the state to have to spend more money for special session to take up election bills again. Democrats claim his veto is unconstitutional, even though the state constitution gives him veto power.
This doesn't surprise me. Democrats always want something for nothing, and they want you to pay for it.
Good point.